Good evening, everyone. I will now call to order the regular City Council meeting of March 23rd, 2026. Is an echo there? Members of the public are invited to attend in-person meetings in council chambers. Okay. Public access is also available by telephone by using the call-in numbers posted on the meeting agenda, and tonight's meeting will be broadcast on the city's YouTube channel online. Apologies for the echo. You gotta love technology, it always happens. Got it? Thank you. Great, moving on. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Leidy is absent. Mayor Pro Tem Lukman Hiromasa.
Here.
Councilmember Burns will be absent. Councilmember Sievers.
Here.
Councilmember Kondo.
Here.
Councilmember Roper.
Here.
Councilmember Goff.
Here.
Councilmember Nowicki.
Here.
Councilmember Leidy will be absent.
Thank you. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Deputy City Manager Loveland, are there any responses to resident inquiries?
Nothing this evening.
Thank you. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? No? Great. Moving into public invited to be heard. This is an opportunity for public comment on any item not set for public hearing. Statements are limited to 5 minutes per speaker. Statements must be related to city business and limited to matters of community interest. City Clerk Small, is there anyone signed up to speak to council tonight?
Yes, Madam Mayor Pro Tem, there are 4 individuals who signed up in advance. The first person on the list is Tom Lampo.
Thank you. Please come forward, state your name, address, or ward, and provide your comments. Welcome, Mr. Lampo.
Thank you very much. All right, hello to Northglenn. Hello to you in front of me. It's an exciting time to be alive. A lot of changes are taking place. I'm Tom Lampo, 3951 Jackson Way, and I'm here to lift Northglenn up to the Lord in prayer. So please join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, in Jesus' name, we come before you tonight and invite you to be here with us in Northglenn. You are God and there is no other. We need you to lead and guide our city. There's nothing that escapes you and nothing can surprise you. You know what is best for us, and that is why we need you to lead us. Please protect us from the schemes of our enemy. Our enemy is desperate because he is losing ground he once claimed as his own. Protect us and deliver us to safety. Psalm 107, 6-7 states, "In their distress, they cried out to the Lord. He rescued them from their troubles. He led them on a road that went straight to an inhabited city." Our world is ever changing. It's easy to find ourselves without hope and not knowing how to move forward. Help us to always be mindful of you. If we get ourselves caught in a situation we shouldn't be in, send your angels to guide us to safety. A month ago, we came before you and asked for cooler weather and moisture for our mountains. There has been some moisture delivered to us, and all praise, glory, and honor is given to you for the moisture we have received. But as you know, we are still significantly below our average snowpack for this time of year. Your word gives us many examples of you having control over the weather. 1 Kings 18:1 states, "Go present yourself to Ahab, and I will send rain on the earth." While in Job 37 verses 6, 11, 12, and 13 it states, "He says to the snow, fall on the earth, and to the rain shower be a mighty downpour. He loads the clouds with moisture. He scatters his lightning through them. At his discretion they swirl around over the face of the whole earth to do whatever he commands them. He brings the clouds to punish people or to water his earth and show his love." These are biblical times. You have control over everything. We are living in a time of exposure and a time of reversals. Reveal the truth and reverse our weather pattern. Heal our land as we prepare for the time of the fullness of the Lord. All praise and glory be to you. You are our God, and we are your people. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thank you, guys. Have a nice night.
Thank you.
The next person on the list is Chris Baum.
Please come forward, state your name and address, and provide your name and address for ward, and provide your comments to City Council.
Yeah, my name is Chris Baum, and I'm in Ward 4. At the February 9th council meeting, you stated ICE is doing some bad things, and it's not okay what they're doing, and there is a need to call it out and say that was murder. That was wrong because the message is shifting. I wrote you on February 17th that I would like to see the evidence that you have to support that statement and the source of such evidence. On February 23rd, you wrote, "There are many news stories, videos, and personal accounts of 2 murders in Minnesota, and the federal government does not allow local law enforcement to conduct the investigations. However, the federal government is not conducting the investigations either. I have never gotten from you any substantive evidence that ICE acted illegally or that any murders, which by definition required premeditated motivation, were committed. However, I have found at least 2 reports that the federal government is investigating the deaths. It's hard to believe that the federal government would not investigate such incidents, and I am certain I can find quality evidence to support my claim. My purpose in speaking is not to rehash this very disturbing incident. My purpose is to express my concern that this incident should be properly investigated and judicial action taken, if warranted, before any of us not in a position to really know what transpired weigh in. I would like to see us support law enforcement at all levels, including federal. I would like to see us not jump to conclusions based on incomplete information. We should work together to get to the bottom of this. I would like to see unity in getting at the truth, not division and argument. Our government at all levels should treat incidents such as this with objective analysis and refrain from inflammatory rhetoric. I would also agree with a statement by Roger McLean, Ward 3, who stated February 23rd that he believes local government discussions should focus primarily on municipal issues. I find the ICE controversy very similar to the Cesar Chavez controversy going on now. It appears before any thorough investigation, politicians everywhere are renaming streets and holidays, and it's still possible that the accusations were fabricated. I would hope Northglenn would be above such hysteria. In regard to ICE, I believe that our laws should either be enforced or repealed. Maintaining and securing our borders is law that has existed for centuries, and while not perfect, should be enforced. The right of countries to set boundaries and defend them was decided in 1648 at the Peace of Westphalia. People that violate country boundaries are exposing themselves to legal prosecution as established by 375 years of precedent. I would similarly hope that someone breaking into my house would be arrested and prosecuted. Am I wrong in this hope? Will I be accused of unnecessary force if I repel intruders into my home? Will the Northglenn police take lengthy steps to check who owns my house before taking action against intruders while risking a potential attack on me? Police work requires split-second judgments, some of which can be wrong, and we certainly should not castigate police or ICE agents when they act in good faith to defend us. Thank you.
The next individual on the list is Melissa Ryan.
Thank you. Please come forward, state your name or address or ward, and provide your comments to council. Welcome.
Hello, Melissa Ryan, Ward 3. And just a quick reminder for everybody who is watching. HB 26-1285 has been postponed and rescheduled for April 8th. So there still is time to get your letters in asking House of Representatives to please vote yes on getting the House bill passed to keep registered sex offenders out of the facilities located here on Grant Street. What I really also came to speak to you guys about today was I have been volunteering at Northglenn High School recently. And I've been seeing some really great things coming from these students. I went on March 17th to listen to the teenagers do a presentation on engaging youth in the next generation. They did say, I did ask them, they said they've reached out to city council to attend some of these presentations that the students place, and they don't get a very good turnout from council. And I understand you guys have day jobs and stuff, so I wanted to come fill you in kind of on what they were talking about. These young adults really impressed me with their ideas for the future of Northglenn. The groups I visited discussed ideas on how to be more involved with the community as a youth. What they also discussed were the obstacles they feel they face in order to be a part of the community. Many students stated that the rec attendance for high schoolers was at 16% of the 238,000 recorded visitors last year. They felt that there aren't many options for high schoolers being offered and programs. They also said that the cost of the activities restricts some of them from being able to join what is offered. They also stated that transportation is an issue. It may be worth looking into setting up a ride program like you do the middle schoolers, maybe once or twice a month, to bus the Northglenn High School students over and back to their school. They also stated that they themselves and their parents are concerned with them being at the rec and the nearby park, which I'm assuming they are meaning E.B. Rains, Webster Lake, alone due to crime and drugs in the area. They were trying to come up with ways to help fund police presence at the park and specifically the skate park area. Some solutions they had thought of were community work for free rec passes. They thought maybe they could create like a youth day where youth could come sign up and you guys would issue them a couple of free passes to the rec center to help with the cost and also to help get them engaged in the community doing cleanup at the parks were a lot of the popular ideas. They also said volunteering for some of the, to guide the other youth or help with some of the programs that you guys already offer. They also thought maybe they could, a discount applied for sports signups if they aren't eligible for the free rec passes. That might help with the cost as well, getting them engaged. They also thought that a game room with items like pool tables, shuffleboards, a few arcade games would attract more teenagers to be at the rec and in a safe place to hang out with their friends. So I just wanted to come and strongly encourage you to go speak to the Northglenn Youth Council. I also told them to go speak to the Northglenn Youth Council about their ideas and also to reach out to council to see how they could try and make a difference because I met with about 20 students. They were all very impressive. They actually create entire web slides for you guys to see. They create their own websites with all of their ideas that are listed. They also host these very frequently. They run topics based off of different ideas of Northglenn. The last one I actually did was how to get employment for teenagers and how to help build their resumes and their volunteer efforts in the area in order to boost their resume applications. And they also they have lots of ideas coming up, but I signed up for the April 7th presentation that they're also going to do, and they discuss, they're going to be discussing food insecurity within Northglenn and how to help locally to make sure that local students are not suffering from food insecurity. If you guys are interested, Allison Dobler at Northglenn High School is in charge of the program. She's done a great job with these students and they put so much effort in. So I would really strongly encourage you guys to reach out and maybe attend one of their upcoming events till the end of the school year. So that's all I have. Have a good day.
Thank you. City Clerk?
The last person on the list is Tim Long.
Thank you. Please come forward, state your name, address, or ward, and provide your comments to council.
Good evening, Council. Tim Long, 10661 Utrilla Lane, Ward 4. The challenge I have this evening is to once again reiterate my thoughts of having a town hall meeting. Ideally, it would be fun to have it where you are talking about the budget and some of the parts of the budget so we could see how the sausage is made. I'm very sorry the mayor was not here to hear Mr. Baum's words. And with all due respect, there's only one person that gave eye contact during his presentation, and that was Mr. Sievers. So thank you for your respect for Mr. Baum's statement. I'm here to talk about governance and fiduciary duties specific to the budget. Just as a reminder, if you haven't heard it in your orientations or in your executive sessions perhaps provided to you by your erstwhile city attorney. Once you take the oath of office to the U.S. Constitution, you are then a control person. And as such, you have three primary fiduciary duties: the duty of care, the duty of loyalty, and the duty of good faith. In terms of the duty of care, you are to work and act on an informed basis, not arbitrary or your personal opinions or bias. The duty includes a requirement that such persons reasonably inform themselves of alternatives. In doing so, they may rely on employees, so long as they do so with a critical eye and do not unquestionably accept information or conclusions provided to them or influenced by outside sources. Under this duty of care, there's also something called the business judgment rule, which really speaks to the fact that you are acting in the best interests of the constituents in the city, as well as the budgetary constraints thereto. And not talking about your personal opinions, and you are, or to comply with consensus pressures, or perhaps personal gain, which I don't extend to you folks with due respect. The duty of loyalty has to do with stepping aside from your personal interests or your biases and your private interests. It has to do with signing a conflict of interest, which I believe you all have done, and act as an elected official to this respect. The third area, the duty of good faith, talks about control persons to exercise care and prudence in making decisions. The care that is reasonably prudent person in a similar position, those of us that may sit in the audience, might come to the same conclusions on. Control persons who fail to act in good faith, even if their actions are not illegal, when it happens that they are taking actions for improper purposes or certain circumstances, they may be held accountable with consequences and accountabilities. The duty to act in good faith is an obligation to make decisions free from self-interest, but also free of any interest, often politically motivated, that diverts the control persons from acting in the best interests of the city and the constituents therein. Again, just to reiterate, the business judgment rule included with the duty of care may be measured by an individual's particular knowledge and expertise. The higher the level of expertise, the more accountable that person may be, such as a finance expert may be held to a more exacting standard than others to accepting a third party's accounting, financial report, or valuation. I say this with all due respect, and again, the budget, as you know, is my primary concern. Without a margin, you have no mission. I learned this working with my Catholic nuns and friends in several hospitals. This is a presentation I've given to boards of directors as well as hospital administration classes. I believe the fiduciary duty is a hallmark and one of the most important things you can be considering as you move forward. Again, fiduciary duty is not necessarily specific to the financial aspects, but in my case, it certainly is. I am here to talk about financials till the cows come home. And I will always be looking to see what you're thinking about because, as you well know, we're understaffed in our police department with a budget that should never be understaffed or undersold. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else signed up, City Clerk? No? Excellent. Is there anyone on the phone who would like to speak to council? You may press *6 to unmute yourself at this time. I do not believe there is. Is there anyone in the audience who did not have a chance to sign up and would like to speak to council? If so, please come forward. Anyone? Does not look like it. Thank you. We do have one proclamation for Child Abuse Awareness and Prevention Month, and we have CASA Chief Executive Officer Vicki Rycord, who will accept the proclamation. Council, please join me downstairs. Great. Whereas April is recognized nationally as Child Abuse Awareness and Prevention Month, a time dedicated to raising awareness of child abuse and neglect and strengthening efforts to ensure that every child grows up in a safe, stable, and nurturing environment. And whereas the 2026 Child Abuse Prevention Month campaign emphasizes that positive childhoods and safe communities begin with strong families and supportive communities, reminding us that each individual has a role to play in helping children thrive and preventing abuse before it occurs. And whereas in Colorado, thousands of children are affected each year by abuse or neglect, with more than 9,700 confirmed victims in recent statewide data, highlighting the continued importance of prevention and family support services. And whereas protecting children and supporting families requires collaboration among parents, educators, social service providers, law enforcement, local governments, and community organizations working together to ensure children are safe, supported, and valued. And whereas community partners such as the court-appointed special advocates, CASA, of Adams and Broomfield counties and Ralston House play a vital role in supporting children who have experienced abuse or neglect by training dedicated volunteers to advocate for the best interests of children in the court system and providing a friendly, safe place for child and teen survivors of abuse to get the services they need and begin the healing process. And whereas communities across the nation observe Child Abuse Prevention Month by raising awareness, supporting family strengthening initiatives, and displaying the blue pinwheel, the national symbol representing the healthy, joyful childhood every child deserves. And whereas the City of Northglenn recognizes that investing in children today strengthens our entire community and helps build a future in which all children can grow, learn, and succeed. Now, therefore, I, Shannon Lukman Hiromasa, Mayor Pro Tem of the City of Northglenn, Colorado, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2026 as Child Abuse Awareness and Prevention Month in the City of Northglenn, and encourage residents, community organizations, educators, and local leaders to work together to support families, strengthen protective networks, and help ensure that every child experiences a safe, healthy, and hopeful childhood. Dated at Northglenn, Colorado, this 23rd day of March 2026. I would love to welcome our guest, Vicki Rycord, Executive Director of CASA, correct? Would you have a few words to say? Yes.
If you don't mind, that would be lovely. Thank you.
This is for you, actually.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much for being here.
Good evening, Council. Good evening, Northglenn. My name's Vicki Rycord, and I have the honor of serving as CASA's CEO. Thank you for recognizing Child Abuse Prevention Month and for your continued commitment to children and families in this community. At CASA, we meet children who have experienced child abuse and neglect at some of the most uncertain and vulnerable moments of their life. When everything they've known's been disrupted, what they need most in that moment is something simple, but incredibly powerful. Someone who shows up, someone who listens, and someone who stays. And that's what a CASA volunteer does. They're often the only consistent adult in a child's life during a time filled with change and confusion. They make sure that the child is not lost in the system and that their voice is heard, their needs are seen, and their future is not decided with someone truly knowing who they are. And while we see the impact on each individual child, we also get to see something bigger. When we support children and strengthen families, we strengthen our entire community. Here in Northglenn, we've had the privilege of serving 22 children and families this past year, but there are many, many more waiting. Right now, hundreds of children in our community could benefit from having someone in their corner. Child Abuse Prevention Month is not only about awareness, it's about action. It's about each of us asking, what role do I play? For those of you who want to learn more about and to get involved, I'd love to invite you to our Light of Hope event on May 1st. It's a nice luncheon. It's an opportunity to hear about the impact of the work that we do and how you can be a part of it. We're incredibly grateful to the City of Northglenn for your ongoing partnership. And thank you again for recognizing this month and for helping create a community where every child has the opportunity to feel safe, supported, and valued.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I just want to say I appreciate so much what CASA does and how many children that you've helped in Northglenn. So thank you. Thank you so much for being here. Get a picture. Moving into communications, we do not have anyone from Ward 1 here tonight, so I'll start with Councilmember Nowicki.
Thank you, Madam Mayor Pro Tem. Let's see here. A couple things from me. CCPP did not meet last Tuesday, the 10th, so we will be meeting next month. The outside agency funding meeting had its first meeting last Monday prior to our meeting. And for those in attendance, the outside agency funding program provides financial support to nonprofit organizations through two separate processes. So we do event sponsorships, so support for nonprofit events that benefit the community or provide recognition for the city, and then grants, so support for nonprofit programs or services that directly benefit Northglenn residents. And just want to talk a little bit about a few of the ones that came, the event sponsorship requests. One of them you heard about with CASA, the Light of Hope. Another one from CASA is Indulge for CASA, coming up, actually in September. There were requests from Ralston House, Food for Hope, Almost Home, the Colorado Business Community for the Arts, Awards Luncheon, and then the 5-Star Education Foundation. So we're excited to meet. This is always a fun committee because it's really about kind of funding some of these organizations. So that's all from me.
Thank you. Councilmember Severs.
Thank you, Madam Mayor Pro Tem. Hope everyone's doing great. On March 12th, I and Councilmember Burns and Kondo attended a Director of Communications candidate meet and greet here at Town Hall. On Saturday, this last Saturday, May 21st, I attended the Farmers Highline Canal cleanup with city staff, volunteers. Councilmember Kondo was there. Neighbors and friends were there. It was great to give back by cleaning up. Water is such a precious thing. And with the lack of snowfall, talks about mandatory water restrictions this summer and the conflict between the upper and lower basin states regarding the Colorado River, it certainly puts water front and center for all of us. Earlier today, I spoke to the Joy Riot as part of our eight-month journey to improve city communications. It will be exciting to see what comes out of the process. I remain optimistic. And finally, yes, to bring back what Melissa Ryan brought up, HB 261285, Mayor Pro Tem will speak about a little bit today, but it's set for Wednesday, April 8th at 1:30, the Judiciary Committee. And then finally, as a veteran of the Iraq War, I will continue to speak up on the stupidity of the war of choice with Iran. I will continue to speak up for our men and women who are serving in yet another war of choice in the Middle East, a war started by politicians. I agree with the president when he said in 2020 that we spent $8 trillion in the Middle East and we're not fixing our roads in this country. How stupid is it? And we're not fixing our highways, our tunnels, our bridges, our hospitals even, our schools even. It's crazy. I agree, Mr. President. Stop wasting the tax dollars. Stop wasting American lives. 98 days till the June 30th primaries and 224 days till the general elections. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Goff?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. A couple of things. I also wanted to thank Melissa Ryan for volunteering to go to the high school. I've done that several times. They call it a problem-based learning presentation, and the students do have, they give you a presentation, and if you've never done this, I mean, anybody can do this, that's why I'm kind of going through this. They give you a little form, you kind of give them some feedback on how well they're doing. So it's supposed to be giving them a sort of a real-life experience of what they might be doing in a job, or I guess in college, or wherever they go to solve a problem and then explain it to other people, or to try to get other people to agree that they had the best solution. So thank you again. And then I also wanted to make sure to thank our staff and all the volunteers who came out for the Highline Canal cleanup. I'm not able to do that recently, but I have done it, and our staff does volunteer time to do that, so not everybody's aware of that. So I wanted to thank them. Our Ward 3 meeting was on March 14th. We had a really good turnout, a lot of good information given out to our residents, and a lot of really good questions. So if you haven't gone to your ward meeting, I encourage everyone to do that. It's your chance to ask and have some back and forth dialogue. Then also on March 18th, I did give testimony to a committee at the state capitol on the data centers. The state is thinking about regulation, I guess, for data centers, and my testimony was to ask them to make sure that that customers of our electricity companies, Xcel and others, are not the ones that end up paying for the infrastructure to build data centers in Colorado. And that's all I have to report out. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Kondo?
Thank you, Madam Mayor Pro Tem. First of all, I want to kind of continue on the theme about the Highline Canal cleanup. Again, I saw Councilmember Severs there, and both he and I think we're the only council people that were there in the joint picture with Northglenn Thornton. So I think that we really represented the city well. But I also want to kind of dovetail with what Ms. Ryan just talked about, because part of that cleanup, you get the opportunity to talk with staff. And so one gentleman, his name is Jesse, works in Parks and Rec, and so he actually related the experience of doing the PBL. And in the course of picking up trash, we would talk, of course, and the things that were really interesting to me is that out of the allegedly 161 students that participated, only one Northglenn High School student was aware that we have a youth council. That was shocking. Only 1 out of 5 actually go to our rec center. That was really interesting. So, I definitely agree with you, Melissa. You learn a lot when you go and talk to students directly. I've actually had that experience. Many of us here actually on the days have participated in PBLs. I know that as a fact. And it then brings me on to my third point, which is the branding and marketing assessment effort that we're doing with Joy Riot. I too also had my 1-hour interview with the consultants, and I shared those very same facts with them, because I think we are having some disconnect in terms of being able to connect with our youth. And so, this is not lost on us. We need to figure out how to better reach out to our residents and find them where they're at and figure out how to engage with them so they can take advantage of the wonderful facilities and programs that we do offer. The strange irony is just before this meeting, Miss Ellie Marzek, hopefully I'm not botching your last name pronunciation, just handed me this very nice flyer. In fact, I think Jesse made reference to this during the canal cleanup, that you're handing out 200 free guest passes to the rec center, to Northglenn High School students, and sending this flyer out. I'll circulate this around on the days. I think it's a step, but only the first step in the right direction to figure out how to best communicate with people. And so that effort obviously will continue. But I wanted to make sure that you all realize that everything is interconnected, and we have to connect the dots to figure out how to get to some pretty meaningful solutions. I'll get off my soapbox now. I do want to recognize our city attorney, and I'm going to give him public embarrassment. Corey Hoffman was nominated and elected to be Lawyer of the Year. Lawyer of the Year for Municipal Law in Colorado by Best Lawyers, a division of Wall Street Journal news organizations. And I know he doesn't like the notoriety, but it's very well deserved. Everything that you do is very much appreciated by me personally and by everybody, I'm sure. So thank you, sir. I would like to call out a resident, former resident, and I know I'm running long here, but I figure I'll take the liberty since not everybody is here. There's this lady by the name of Alexis de la Cruz, whose father had passed away, and his bench along the Grant Ditch got kind of torqued and bent up, I think, hit by a car or some other vehicle or something, who knows. But she wrote a very nice letter. It's in the manager's report. I'm not going to read all of it. She has since moved away to Seattle, or Everett, Washington, rather. But she talks very lovingly about this bench that was dedicated to her father and how the city really bent over backwards to make sure that the new bench that was installed would be really a long-lasting memorial, if you will, for her dad. Where is his name? It's De La Cruz. She doesn't mention his first name, unfortunately. But again, if you're interested, look in the manager's report. And then one last thing I'd like to just say in public, because I think we have to do this whenever we take trips and spend money for training and travel, is that in lieu of attending this year's CML, I will actually go with Dr. Cog this coming May for a peer exchange trip to the Puget Sound area. So Dr. Cog, Denver Region Council of Governments, consortium of 59 counties and cities encompassing the metro planning area. I'm the vice chair of that organization currently. We are going to be taking a number of elected officials, up to 30, to Seattle to meet with the Puget Sound Region Council. And so I wanted to at least inform the days and the public that that trip will be spent using public funds. Not expected to be too expensive, as Dr. Cog has already made block hotel arrangements and discounted travel. So again, that'll be in early May. That's all I have to report, Madam Mayor Pro Tem.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Roper.
Thank you, and thank you to everyone who came out to speak tonight. I will piggyback a little bit on with my councilmate here. And thank you, Ms. Ryan, for coming out. I'm actually the liaison for the Youth Commission, and they are really involved in helping encourage youth get involved from our community. So one thing they are doing is on April 11th, they are having an art jam, and that is going to coincide with also our Club 22. And what that is you must register ahead of time, and the information is on our website. But it is really allowing youth to come forward, to really get involved with each other, and they're going to produce art during the time that they are there. They're going to have many materials available, and it's a time for students to come together, to get to know each other, and to get to know a little bit about our city and how they can be involved. So they are going to be offering opportunities like this throughout the year where youth can come and get involved, because we do have some open spaces for that. So that will be great. Also, from Historic Pres, we have the citywide survey that we are really looking into still. We are working with NURA to really partner more often so that we have the same mission going forward. And we are looking at replacing the windows at Stonehawker. So that is all for me. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So I would also like to thank everybody that came out to Public Invited to be Heard. And Melissa, thank you for being such an involved resident. I think that's so important, and many of us have attended those PBLs, so I would encourage everyone to continue to do so. I love working with Allison Doppling. She's incredible, so try to give her referrals to anything that we see as well. Okay, so as for what I've been up to, I will say one thing that I will be doing this Wednesday, if any of you are available. I do believe it will be recorded. I am doing a 3-part webinar series for CML, which is new, and I'm very excited to be doing that. And the first webinar will be this Wednesday at noon. So super excited to do what I do for a living and help other elected officials. It should be recorded, I believe, so if you can't catch it, you should be able to go back and watch it. I would like to thank Vicki. I think I might have said your name wrong. Ricord, is that the correct? Ricord, for being here and accepting the proclamation. I'm on the Ralston House Board of Directors, and we did have a meeting last week, and I will say, sadly, if you know Don Mosley, the executive director, he is retiring. He is no longer the executive director, so we have a new one, Tricia, who is amazing as well. And I do believe there might be some official farewell event coming up for him. But we had a fundraiser, and we had hoped to raise around $200,000 for Ralston House, and I think we've hit at least 210 and counting, which is excellent. And in the proclamation, it mentions pinwheels, and as a member of the Ralston House Board of Directors, if you would like to have a pinwheel garden, it is $300. You can reach out and I'll tell you how to purchase one. I intend to purchase one and put it in my yard, and 100% goes to helping kids who are being served by Ralston House, who are suffering through abuse. So just thought I would mention that. If you'd like a pinwheel, please reach out, or a pinwheel garden, I should say. You get 50 of them, not just one pinwheel. I attended the Rotary Club meeting last week, and they had Student of the Month, and we had a Northglenn High School student. So going back to supporting our students and the Youth Commission, and there was also a student from Horizon High School receiving an award. And I did recommend that both of them contact the Youth Commission as something that they might be interested in serving on. So hopefully they reach out to you pretty soon, or to Cassie, I guess, would be the next person. I am chair of the Vail Board, and unfortunately we have another opening for a Vail board member. So if anyone in the audience knows anyone that would love to serve on one of our boards and commissions, the Vail Board is one, and that's Victim Assistance and Law Enforcement Board. And what we do is basically there's a percentage of the fines in municipal court that go towards, and must go only towards, helping victims of crimes. And we collect that funding, and then we issue grants to like CASA, Ralston House, anyone that serves victims of crimes really can apply. So again, there is an opening, and I know some of you might have some family members or know someone, friends, family, that would like to serve on the board. Jeremy, our newest board member, Dittmer, unfortunately, he is moving, and you are required to be a resident of the city of Northglenn, so he will no longer be able to serve, unfortunately. And he's been an amazing asset to the board. Very sad to see him leave. We have another Family Justice Center committee meeting this Wednesday, so I'll report on that next time. I went on a business walk with our Business Retention and Expansion Committee meeting, with the committee last Thursday, and we walked through the Plaza North business office, which is off of Huron. And I didn't even get to finish visiting all the businesses before I had to leave. There are so many. And what really surprised me was that I met at least 3 who have been in those offices for over 28 years, since the 1990s. And I think that says a lot about that retention piece that we do really well here in the city of Northglenn. And it's just really great to hear from our small business owners on the good, the bad, and the ugly, as I like to say it. Always learn something new from our businesses. And then the very last thing that I will report on that has been mentioned a couple of times is that, yes, Our hearing for the mental health treatment facility bill has been continued to April 8th at 1:30. I unfortunately will be out of the country on that day, but I know we will have good attendance and some good testimony, I expect. But there are some new movements regarding our bill. We are waiting on a draft agreement with the state for an MOU regarding the treatment facilities. And so what that would do, what we are hoping is that would actually memorialize what we've been trying to have happen, right? Memorialize in statute that 1,000-foot distance limitation from housing sex offenders in those facilities. The deadline, well, it wasn't a hard deadline, but we had hoped to get that by Friday. That didn't happen. So we have kind of a hard stop deadline of this Friday, the 30th. Is that Friday? Okay, thank you. So stay tuned because we are waiting on that, and you know, that will hopefully determine some things on how we proceed forward from there. That is the last thing I have in my communication notes. Let's see, Deputy City Manager Loveland, do you have anything?
I do not have anything, thank you.
Okay, thank you. City Clerk Small?
Thank you, Madam Mayor Pro Tem. I do not have any updates tonight.
Okay, great. Lawyer of the Year, City Attorney Hoffman. Do you have anything for us this evening?
Good evening, Madam Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. I do not have anything to report tonight.
Thank you, and congratulations on that. Great. Moving into our consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Please open the vote.
The vote is open.
Okay. Gosh. Please vote.
Yes, I'm running behind.
I'm sorry, my mouse wasn't cooperating.
No.
That actually just happened to me.
City Clerk Small, I vote yes.
Okay. Okay, I will close that vote, and the consent agenda passes unanimously.
Thank you. Moving into ordinances on first reading, will the clerk please read the title?
A bill for an ordinance amending the penalty provision of the City of Northglenn Municipal Code to align with state law regarding the maximum criminal penalty that can be imposed for certain violations of the Northglenn Municipal Code.
Motion to approve.
Seconded.
Thank you. We have City Attorney Hoffman, who will provide a summary of the item. Thank you.
Good evening again, Madam Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. At the end of last year, the Colorado Supreme Court issued a decision that essentially held that municipal courts cannot have a higher penalty for any criminal offense, non-traffic offense, that has the identical elements of a crime under state law. Our court has been following this since the decision was rendered by the Colorado Supreme Court in a case involving the cities of Westminster and Aurora. But this ordinance would codify, put in the Northglenn Municipal Code, the limitation on the penalty based on the decision by the Colorado Supreme Court late last year. So I would certainly recommend that council approve this on first reading.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? I do not see any hands, City Attorney Hoffman. So it looks like we're good to go. Thank you. Please open the vote.
The vote is open.
Please vote.
I will close that vote, and CB 2035 on first reading passes unanimously.
Thank you. We have one resolution. Will the clerk please read the title?
A resolution approving a professional services agreement between the City of Northglenn and Kimley Horn and Associates Incorporated for the traffic signal design project.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Great, thank you. We have Director of Public Works, Sarah Borgers, who will provide a summary of the item. Welcome, good to see you.
Good to see you, Mayor Pro Tem and City Council. So this work is to do engineering design for our two last span wire street signals. So we talked about the wire going across and then the signals kind of hanging off that wire. This would be a design work to make those more structural, the regular kind of structural with the bar across the top, which makes them safer and all of the things. So we went through an RFP process. We did get seven proposals. And through a thorough evaluation, staff selected Kimley Horn. The contract amount would be for $233,485 with a 10% contingency requested as well. I'm happy to answer questions.
Councilmember Severs?
Thank you, Madam Mayor Pro Tem. So I'm going to probably do this every time we have any consulting. Obviously, 200 some thousand is a big dollar amount. Can you tell me, I mean, we usually pick whoever we trust most to deliver a good product based on price, but what do you know what the high number was and maybe what the low number was and where we settled?
So with RFPs, the cost of the engineering design is only a part of what makes the decision. And our code, I'm looking at Corey, doesn't allow for us to share that publicly. But what I will say is that one of the reasons why we go with RFPs is because engineering cost is usually about 10% of the cost of a construction project. And so even if it's not the lowest bid, it is worth it to spend a little bit more with the 10% in order to not get a bunch of change orders when we go into construction and end up spending a lot more during the construction phase. So it's a really good question, and I'm not sure how much I can share with that.
And I live between 117th and 18th. So I actually walked my dog today and walked down there to look at it because I was like, oh, it's specifically one of them. One of the two locations is my neighborhood. And people all, I guess what I wanted to point out was like, yes, there is light signals. Yes, they do work, but they definitely do look more rural. They definitely don't look maybe up to what the city would hope to achieve for other people to move in and say, I'm ready to invest here. So I'm always going to be the person bringing up spending money on stuff. But I think if you go look at them yourself, I actually have pictures on my phone if you guys want to see them. They're not really city standard. So just want to point that out. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Kondo?
Thank you, Madam Mayor Pro Tem. I had a kind of a similar sort of thought here because, and maybe I'm just simplifying things maybe too far, but I would think that there's kind of a standardized design for a light signal, pole-based light signal design for intersections that are 4 lanes versus a 2-lane or whatever. So am I missing something here, or is there more that they need to do, like, I don't know, a traffic flow study or some other thing that is part of the scope of work here?
Yeah, so traffic signals, I will say I'm stepping outside of my comfort zone when I talk about this subject just a little bit, but when you look at what a traffic signal is, it's a very interesting structural engineering problem of having this very heavy weight that's going out over the intersection. And so there's a few things that go into that. Every street width is going to be slightly different. The intersection is going to be laid out slightly differently, so the pole maybe has to go behind a sidewalk or in front of a sidewalk. That'll change those widths. And the other component of that is what kind of soil is underlying. So there's some evaluation associated with that.
Okay, so this is not a pull your standard traffic signal off the shelf or out of the yard, I suppose, and
That would be lovely if it were
bolt
the
it.
case.
Okay. Thank you. And then I'm done with geeking on engineering. Thank you.
Thank you. That was actually a really good question.
Yeah.
Thanks for
I
asking
mean, are
that.
there traffic signs or us stores out there? You know, you just go buy one.
We have a couple more hands. Councilmember Nowicki.
Thank you, Madam Mayor Pro Tem. This is similar, kind of along the same line of questioning as Councilmember Kondo. First of all, thank you for being here. It is essentially the poll has to be customized for pretty much each individual case, right?
The pole, but also the foundation underneath the pole as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Goff.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, and thank you for being here, Director. My question is, maybe it isn't even really a question, but because I'm not sure how much of all of the information the residents have access to, but there is a traffic signal program budget, and this does not use the entirety of that budget. Is that correct?
It does not.
So-
Now, what I will say is that it leaves a little more than $500,000 left in that budget after this work is complete, and that may or may not be sufficient in order to do the construction portion of this. That said, we would likely do the construction next year when there is additional budget planned.
All right, thank you for that clarification.
I don't see any more hands, but thank you so much for being here and, hearing the questions. I was also wondering, I'm assuming with structural deficiencies that poses a hazard, right? Like how soon do these need to be replaced? Like what is the timeline for that? And
So
are we
that's
looking at, okay.
Oh, I
Go
apologize.
ahead. No, go ahead.
I'm excited to answer the questions tonight, apparently. No, so there's nothing that's like eminently hazardous with the situation. These are in reasonably good condition. Where you see the structural comments, a lot of times what that's referring to is over time, these poles will tend to rust or they're right there, they're getting salt on them from snow fighting and all of that kind of stuff. So they do tend to rust over time. And so a lot of times when we are talking about structural issues, it's rust. And these poles, I don't believe are metal. So I think that is related to some other intersections that we haven't gotten to yet.
Is that the outdated technology portion of this, that it's not compatible with the other city systems? It says outdated technology.
I am going to say probably maybe.
Okay.
I am not up to speed on that piece. So I'll have to get back to you on that
That's
question.
okay. I can follow up with you later on that.
Yeah, my apologies.
Great. Thank you. I know it's definitely, it's quite a bit of money, but I think we asked the right questions to get to where we needed to be to understand why it needs to happen. So I don't see any other hands. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much.
Please open the vote.
The vote is open.
Thank you. Please vote.
I will close that vote, and CR 62 passes unanimously.
Thank you. Let's see, we have 2 discussion items, and the first one is our Crisis Response Unit update, and we have Crisis Response Unit Manager Jessica Hulse, who is here to present this item. It's always so great to see you. Thank you for being here. I look forward to this update.
Oh, good. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. Thanks for having me. I am here to give our quarterly update on our Crisis Response Unit. So for a quick purpose and background, the Crisis Response Unit was adopted by the City Council of Northglenn in October of 2021. The crew takes referrals from our police department, our neighborhood services, our municipal court, and individuals in the community themselves. And we give our monthly reports, which are available online at northglenn.org/crew. So in 2026, I'm changing the format of our reports to hopefully make it a little bit more clear. So the Crisis Response Unit oversees 3 different programs. One is crisis intervention, one is homelessness intervention, and one is targeted violence prevention. And these are the services that we provided from January 1st through February 28th in a breakdown of those 3 different programs. So for crisis intervention, we had 508 services. For homeless intervention, we had 369 services. And for targeted violence prevention, we had 41 services. So when we are talking about crisis intervention, what the crew is focusing on is connecting individuals to community partners. We are looking at therapeutic models, we are looking at stabilization, we're looking at financial, transportation. Sometimes we are looking at the connection to hospitalizations, as well as we are case conferencing with schools if they are needing assistance with a certain family. When we are looking at homelessness intervention, we are working with our partners through Metro Denver Homeless Initiative. We also do rounds at our parks on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on the Civic Campus in the E.B. Rains Park. We respond to our community complaints through our CRM system on encampments. We provide walk-in resource hours on Fridays from 9 a.m. till noon. We participate in the Built for Zero, which is a partnership with the regional homeless outreach teams. We are a participant in the Swap Partner to distribute hotel vouchers when the weather drops under 20 degrees or under 32 degrees with precipitation. And we are developing a relationship with the Aurora Regional Navigation Campus, which a couple of you guys came on a tour down at that campus this past month. One thing that will be changing throughout 2026 is our walk-in resource hours on Fridays. We are going to consolidate that into a monthly fare instead of weekly resource hours. The reason for that is right now we have community partners come on different Fridays every month, and we're going to consolidate that into 1 month so people can come and meet with Human Services, they can meet with harm reduction, they can meet with the MAT team, they can meet with ID vouchers. We can bring in DMV to go, which will actually do IDs, they will print them for the person right then and there so they don't have to do the appointments at the DMV. We'll partner with our food service provider, and we're looking at partnering with our courts at least twice this year, or twice in a calendar year, to do warrant clearings as well. So having a resource fair will ensure that each individual gets to meet with all of those different folks instead of having to come up on a weekly basis and meet with them if they're there, hit or miss. So we'll just be able to provide more services during a consolidated time. Part of that is also, now that we've moved our resource room up to the Justice Center, individuals know where we are, so people come to see us all day. They'll come to the records department and just ask to talk to crew. So if we're doing case conferencing, they don't have to wait till those Fridays. They can come whenever they want to meet up with us. We had a person this morning actually come to meet with Almost Home. We were just providing office space as they're getting connected to their housing. So I will keep you updated. No changes are going to happen until this summer. We want to get through all of the swap season and do a nice, I guess, public announcement so our folks know and our partners know. But just so to give you guys the heads up, that change will be coming probably in July. For our targeted violence prevention, we work with the Northglenn Police Department to implement this team. We lead the North Metro Threat Assessment Group, which brings together the regional departments of other law enforcement agencies, our legal departments, our probation and parole departments, community mental health, our school districts, and our district attorney's office. And we just do case conferencing on clients that are causing concern to see how we can move them down the pathway to violence, so then hopefully we don't get far enough down the path that violence does occur. We also hosted a training with the U.S. Secret Service for leadership on a regional basis. We had about 45 different chiefs, deputy chiefs, commanders, lieutenants come and attend that training on targeted violence prevention. They learned the model, and they also were connected to the North Metro Regional Threat Assessment Group, as well as the forming one that's now going to be in the South Metro area that's going to be headed by Lakewood Police Department. We attended the Association of Threat Assessment Professionals Conference. That's held twice a year. We go to the winter conference as our co-responder conferences in the summer. And we were able to bring our detective sergeant with us this year. And then we also facilitated a mandatory training for all of our patrol units, actually all of our sworn officers in entirety with our police department through the Colorado Information Analysis Center on targeted violence prevention. And this just helps them understand what the ground information that they are getting and the interviews that they are doing at the point in time that they are interacting with individuals. We have a analysis system that we can take their reports and look for red flags when it's coming to preventing targeted violence. So the case studies, I always like to throw a couple of these in just so I can conceptualize the work that's getting done. So in our crisis intervention, we had a client who is chronically suicidal, and they've reached the point of despair. The client is referred to the PD from their therapist and family members. They've been able to build rapport with our crisis unit, and they reach out directly when they're feeling suicidal. This is on a daily occurrence, if not 5 times a day occurrence. We have been historically unable to get them into treatment because as soon as they go for their intake, they are placed on yet another mental health hold by the treatment provider. We have been able to now get them referred to an intensive outpatient therapy treatment and work with their intake team to understand this person's baseline. And then we were able to get them to agree not to place them on an M1 unless things escalated from this current baseline. So they've been able to now engage in their IOP for about 2.5 weeks. And since that point in time, we have not had to place them on another mental health hold. They're actually able to move forward in their crisis rather than stay in that cyclical model. They've been able to create some healthier family connections. They were able to adopt a dog, which is really helping them. And they've been mostly being able to stay out of those emergency rooms, which was just getting their crisis diverted to many different places around the region. Happily, they are working towards stability and taking other steps to keeping themselves safe, which is great. Also, a client was referred through the PD, but was also working with the municipal court, our school district, and our child protective services. The crew is connecting the systems and keeping all parties updated as they navigate through the death of a family member, which had caused a severe disruption within the home. At that point in time, no one really even understood who had legal custody of the children, so we were able to work with the schools to make sure that the kids had a safe place to go and their safety was being looked after. With our homelessness intervention, we've worked with a woman since December 13th of 2023. And since then, we've interacted with her over 82 times at this point. We were unable to get her to really engage in services when she was unsheltered. But when we had a swap incident and she had to go down to an Aurora hotel because we didn't have another hotel close by, at that point in time, we encouraged her to engage with the Kamida Center, which was there for the day services, and she decided to stay there. And in fact, she decided to stay there where most of her friendships around here thought that she had passed away, but she had not passed away. And but she didn't want us letting her old community know where she was. So we saw an increase in her ability to engage, and then when the new Homelessness Navigation Center opened, she moved over there from the Kamida Center. And then when we just went for our tour, I went to go connect with her to find out that 3 weeks prior she had become housed. So that was a really good, happy moment for us because she does have some intellectual disabilities and she was navigating a lot with 2 dogs. And so the new navigation center also allows for pets to go in, which encouraged her to still engage with them. And when I share numbers, I want you to think about that case study because I just said 82 times we'd interacted with her. Through those 82 times, she had to put her dogs in foster care as she entered into our jail systems for tickets that she was not showing up for. She was in a terrible relationship. There was some hospital visits in there. And so when we talk about the numbers later on and we talk about the cost savings of when we house someone, that's a great example of when you're going to see those cost savings on a community-wide perspective. For targeted violence prevention, it's harder for me to share case studies just because of the nature of the cases that we're working on. But the work that we are doing is we're helping to understand the process of getting a person into long-term help. We're understanding mental health adjudications, which then puts someone on the NICS indices on a federal level, so they are not able to purchase any firearms. We are working to assist in the process of temporary extreme risk protection orders, which says that a person cannot have access to a firearm for up to 365 days. We work with families to explore safety options. We're tracking court cases, which takes a lot of effort, and we're coordinating with our competency court in the county. So a snapshot of what co-response in Adams County looks like today. So Northglenn, we are an internal co-response team. That is the same as Adams County, as Thornton, Westminster, and Commerce City. Brighton and Federal Heights, they are the only two that have the contracted co-response team. And I think Federal Heights has dropped their co-response team. I just heard about this, so that's why it's not updated, down to just one case manager. So no co-responder, but just a case manager at this point in time. We are the only team in the county that also provides the homeless interventions as well. Those other cities are employing a second group of team. So all except for Brighton and Federal Heights has a second team of individuals that they provide for homeless interventions as well. So this is where we get into the cost savings in our financial impact. So in 2024, the Police Practice and Research Journal found that diverting a person from an arrest saved an average of $1,194 in jail costs and $605 in processing costs per arrest. And the report also found that diverting a person from a stay in the emergency department saved an average of $1,015. So if we look at our diversions, and this is still just January and February at this point in time, we had 21 diverted emergency room visits for cost savings of $21,315. We had 1 diverted jail for cost savings of $1,799. And then when we are looking at the cost savings of having a person become housed, in 2023, the Colorado Coalition for the Homeless found that housing one person out of homelessness saved an average of $27,193 in public funding. And that's those costs that I was referencing back with my case study. So when we're looking at jail costs, swap vouchers, shelter costs, mental and medical costs, the pet costs, encampment cleanup costs, when we're talking about that entire combined cost savings, that's where that funding is going to be coming from. And in January and February of this year, we were able to house 7 individuals. So for a cost savings of $190,351. When I'm talking about those diverted emergency rooms, what that looks like is if we are able to not go to an emergency room, but go directly into placement at a behavioral health hospital, that's what's saving those emergency room dollars. The same as if we are able to safety plan in place. So at their home, if we're able to safety plan with family members, then we are also not using that emergency room. So it's not always that the person's not entering treatment, but it is that they're not entering into the emergency room costs that precipitate a treatment. We are also able to divert to Community Reach Center's new walk-in crisis center, which has been a huge benefit for our team because we can transport there if the person's not on an M1, and we can also just work with Community Reach Centers for continued treatment after the person's going through their walk-in center. And then the diverted jail, I think this person, we were able to divert to a detox center is where that person went. So when we're looking at funding the crew, we have an opioid settlement grant that funds direct services for our clients. We were awarded that back in 2024. There wasn't a spend down time limit, so we still can send one person to a dual diagnostic facility, and we have that person applying right now, so they're just getting through some of their things that they want to get in order before going, but we have identified the 5th person that will go there. And then we have some extra funding to go towards sober living homes because not everybody that we sent needed the full 2 months that we were awarded. So we have some funding to send an additional couple of people to sober living homes. And I think we have 2 people identified at this point in time. Our awarded regional transportation grant, this is an annual thing that we apply for. We were awarded $715, which is lower than last year due to more applicants, but it's still a good amount of bus passes. So it's not a financial dollar that we are awarded, it's just that's the value of bus passes that we're given to assist in people's transportation. And then our Adams County Public Health Department grant, which will end at the end of this year, we were awarded $418,630. It has provided 2 staff, a secure transport vehicle, training, and onboarding safety equipment, such as our radios. We will have extra dollars to give back at the end of that grant, just because of the limited areas that we're able to spend that. We're looking at reallocating some, but we already reallocated up to the 10% that we could do without coming back to the Board of County Commissioners or City Council. So we're looking at what those dollars can be spent on right now, and we are in the middle of trying to hire our weekend person. We've gotten this far before with a couple of other individuals before they did not get through the entire process of onboarding. So that's frustrating, and it's also just the world of trying to onboard people into our police department that has a very stringent background process. We were able to explore an internship program, so I think many of you have met our intern, Barb, and she is able to receive an intern stipend, which is great and almost unheard of when you're going through your master's programs, so we've been able to support that as well. These are our partnerships that we partake in on a monthly basis. So I sit on our Colorado Co-Response Alliance as a board member. We sit on the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council in both the Behavioral Health and the Juvenile Justice subcommittees. We sit in, or we lead the North Metro Threat Assessment Group. We sit in on the SWAP Coordinating Council, and we sit in on a weekly basis on the Adams County Built for Zero meetings. This is our budget for 2026. We have 1 program manager, we have 5 co-responders. 1 of those is currently grant funded. We will lose her at the end of 2026. And we have 1 intern. Our operating budget is $571,000. $506,000 is on personnel, $64,800 is on services and supplies. And that's that direct assistance that we're also able to give to clients that we're working with. And now I'll open for questions.
Thank you so much for that presentation. We do have a couple of hands. I'll let them ask questions first. Councilmember Kondo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you, Ms. Hulse, for the presentation. I'm just going to recite Ben Franklin in 1735. He says, "An ounce of prevention is worth more than a pound of cure." And I really do appreciate what you did with putting the numbers in there to show the financial benefit to the city for our investment in the crisis response unit. I'm also really happy to see that you have a new vehicle. I think I saw that in a recent ride-along. Obviously, it's got all the features in there to allow you to transport patients and do that in a safe manner. So I'm really delighted that you are having the right equipment and additional people coming on board, whether they're full-time or interns, to help address this problem. And then lastly, I will say, I think it was the other night when I was joining you for dinner at the Pepper Bistro, I saw 2 of your crew members giving a ride along to, I believe it was a Brighton person.
Yes, it was in Adams County.
Adams County,
Yeah.
sorry. So I know that I've seen firsthand that our program is being widely acknowledged and replicated, which speaks volumes to you and all the great things that you're doing. Okay, so I'm done singing your praises. Here are my questions. So, as you're aware, the Mental Health Transition Living Facility is the topic du jour.
Yes.
And I'm really curious as to whether some of the numbers, can you just kind of, on page 5, is there a percentage of either calls or hours spent in assisting and addressing issues that occur at those 2 facilities that can be broken out from that slide, so we have some idea of knowing the amount of resources we're allegedly supporting the state with their transition facility?
Yes, those numbers would fall under our crisis intervention numbers. I'll go back to the slide.
So we're saying some fraction of 508 are.
Yes, that is correct. So some fraction of 508 would be in those crisis intervention services. I would say it's going to be anywhere from 75 to 100, just because I know how many times our police department has been called out. I don't know if our police department has called out when crew has not responded with them, or medical. So sometimes we've responded with only medical as well. And we've also assisted in some of the discharge planning that the mental health transitional living home has had to do. When a person is being discharged from that facility, that's the last stop for a lot of people. They have gone through the criminal justice system, they have been found to be incompetent, or they have been found not guilty by reason of insanity, and they are in that treatment facility because the state needs to open up some beds at the state mental health hospital. So it's called a step-down unit. They step down into that unit. There's not a place for them to step down to from there. So some discharges, the hope for discharges is for a person to find stable living facilities outside of the supported ones. And I'm hoping that they have some of those outcomes. We have not been able to see the outcomes of the transitional living facility, but that is the goal of the transitional living facility. When we are involved, that has not been the case. The people have been being discharged because they're asking to leave due to rules violations, mostly rules violations, or they've decided to leave the facility on their own accord. And then we also have assisted in trying to find those individuals when the facility marks them as missing. So it's been more on the discharge planning and the crisis intervention when someone's hitting the streets.
Yeah, doesn't sound like a happy landing in many cases. So if I were to just do some conservative math, let's just assume, I mean, there were 75 calls for service, let's just say 50. And here you have 508 crisis intervention situations in 2 months of January and February. I mean, that's 10%.
I do want to pause. Those calls are not all going to be in January and February. I'm going to say totality of circumstances when we've gone to the facility.
Yeah.
I don't know how many have been in January and February. I'd have
Okay.
to go back to the numbers for that.
I think it would be interesting to know, because, clearly that is a demand signal on what is allegedly supposed to be a resource for the city. And if we're busy kind of helping people get a happy landing from a state facility, it seems like it doesn't make sense. The state is not paying for crisis response unit. This is all taxpayer dollars. Okay, I'm going to get off my soapbox. But again, I have a lot of respect, and I see that you're doing a lot of good in our neighborhood, and I want to thank you for doing that.
Thank you. Councilmember Severs.
Thank you, Madam Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you again, Jessica, for the presentation, and more importantly, what you and the crew do. I had one question. So you talked about transitioning to like more of a monthly fair thing. How much of the things you can do at this fair situation can be done at the Pico Street Adams County Health and Human Services Building?
Yeah,
Is it like
a great question. So when we're looking at homelessness intervention, you have to have a team that's connected to Homeless Metro or why can't I say it? MDHI, Metro Denver Homeless Initiative, through the Homeless Management Information System. And we are that entity for City of Northglenn. Adams County does have their own, but they're not going to case manage the Northglenn clients. So we do have to have contact with them on that monthly basis to keep them updated in that HMIS system. Bringing in those other community partners is a benefit and a draw to get people to come to see us and make sure that they are up to date on all of those different services at the same time, rather than having them go to individual buildings. When we're talking about the different individual buildings that would be coming to that monthly fair, we would have the one on Pecos Street, the DMV off of 122nd, the harm reduction, which is off of 122nd, and the mat treatment, which is off of Washington, and the food services, which is a a group of individuals that come and partner and bring our folks breakfast burritos on those days. And then the courts, the municipal courts, if we partner, if we can figure that out with staffing and the schedule for the courts, which is kind of packed. So looking at that.
Appreciate that. And just for clarification for residents, the Aurora facility, what's it called again?
The Homeless Regional Navigation Center.
Right, so people need to have an association with Aurora to enter that. It worked out there, but we can't just send people down to Aurora and say, okay, you got it. And then lastly, I think it's kind of similar to like CASA, you know? Some people, the thing about being unstable is in many different ways, you might be unstable, and you really need people to be a representative for you, push you into directions that will help you, and it doesn't always work out. I know when I was recently with you, you ran into an old familiar face, and I'm sure that happens quite often based on what you see. But it's a fight worth fighting, and helping people be housed, be healthy, and honestly, obviously, it plays a big effect on what people think about Northglenn and whether they want to live here, and et cetera, et cetera. So I appreciate all you do. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Roper.
Thank you, Madam Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you for this presentation. I really appreciate it. It's so good for us and our community to know what is happening. My question is, and I apologize if I missed this, so you said 7 individuals had housing intervention. How many of those were assisted through the SWAP program?
Oh, that's a great question. I would say probably all 7 of them.
Okay.
Yeah. It's rare that we are working with an individual that makes it all the way through housing without needing to use that SWAP program. Also, individuals who use the SWAP program, they then qualify for first month's rent. So there is a pathway to housing through the SWAP program, which is a nice benefit. So if we know that someone is getting close to being housed and we need more stability, we will ask them to sign up for the SWAP program. So then we can get them enrolled into that first month's rent assistance.
Perfect. That was going to be my next question. Yep. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Goff.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, and thank you, Jessica Hulse, for all the work you do. I've watched you develop this program and grow this program over the last 5 years. It's just been amazing, and I so appreciate all the time you dedicate to this. So my question is, on the board here, you have the 3 sub-programs or 3 programs that Crew deals with. And then in mentioning that other communities have a separate program for homelessness and crisis, what's the advantage of doing it the way we do it? Because that's going to be a choice that's going to develop over time.
Yes, that's a great question as well. So through COVID, that's when the surrounding jurisdictions really developed their homelessness interventions. I think we saw that a lot when I first came to Northglenn, that other teams were developing around homelessness. Northglenn was the first internal co-responder program in Adams County. Westminster was the first co-responder program, but they were partnering with Community Reach Center at that point in time. Community Reach Center had not signed in to be the homeless navigators, so that it was not built into their co-responder program. We came through Northglenn and we did that community needs assessment that in 2020 when I was here, and we came up with our homelessness and our crisis unit that really needed to combine, just because we had familiar faces around all of the different spectrums, from criminal justice, from the courts, from people living outdoors, from people needing mental health help, and we combined it all into one. Strategically, we are not under our police department, we are under city management, because when you gain access to several databases that we're allowed to partner in, if we were positioned under the police department, we would not have access to those. So with us being under our city manager, we are able to have access to Contexture, which is a data sharing across health professionals, so using our hospital resources for treatment. And then we are also able to partner in that HMIS. So and contexture has changed. They've gone back and forth even in the past 5 years. Right now, they say that you can partner even if you are under a police department, but historically, that has not been the case. HMIS, every year I have to attest that I am not under a police department because they do not share their data with police departments. So us being strategically partnered outside of that. Now, that's being us partnered away from our police department, but still being in one unit. With us being in one unit, when we are the first on scene for a person experiencing homelessness or responding to encampments, we then start to look at all of the different complex issues that they have. What courts are they missing? What warrants are they having to address before they can access housing? Because some of the ready-to-work programs, you cannot have outstanding warrants to go ahead and enter it. So then we're working on motivational interviewing skills and trying to get individuals to address their warrants that they have before they can move on. And a lot of the warrants that I'm talking about are failure to appears. So it's easy to address, but they just don't know how. And they don't have someone explaining that if you show up at the police department, you're not automatically going to jail. You're being reassigned another court date. So I think the systems approach that we have works really well for Northglenn and the size of our team. If you asked unincorporated Adams County to address all of those issues, they would need a much larger team. Their team is built to be about the same size as ours, I think. I think they are budgeted to have up to 7 co-responders that the county will actually pay for. And our city budget will cover 5 for us. And so when you're looking at that plus their homeless outreach team and the systems that the homeless outreach team are overseeing, you would need a much larger team to be able to integrate all of those different systems. Same in Thornton. So Thornton would need a much larger team to be able to handle that information. I think the size of Northglenn and the size of our crisis unit helps us to be able to address a very complex system.
Great. And then I'm going to assume that there's a lot of overlap in these 3 categories.
There is, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that probably is a benefit for
So
being
this
one.
is the primary, right? Like every time we make a case note, we are having to choose the primary. When I am working with an individual that just had his leg amputated and I'm trying to find him a new house for him to live in, I'm classifying that as a crisis, not a homeless, even though he can no longer get to his apartment. So if he was to discharge from the hospital, he would not be able to get into his home. And so you have to choose what the primary concern is at that point in time when
All
you're
right.
doing the case note. Yep.
Great. I don't see any more hands. I do have lots of questions. First of all, as always, thank you so much for everything you do. Looking at the partnerships that you've created, the trainings that you go through and your team goes through. I mean, this is why our crew sets the standard for others and kind of models what other crisis response units should be. So I just want to say thank you for that. I know that you've really spearheaded that. And I really appreciate it. Like, we can really see the difference. So some of the questions that I have, regarding the Adams County grant, you mentioned like some of those funds can be reallocated or they have to be returned. Is that what I
correct.
heard?
Yep.
Okay. But we haven't had to return any funds yet, so
No, the due date will be December 31st, 2026, when we have to spend down that money. So right now, we just turned in our spend down projection, and right now it looks like we'll be returning around $100,000, $100,000 to $120,000. So we're looking at how we can reallocate those dollars and stay within the scope of the grant.
about $100,000 to $120,000 needs to be reallocated?
Yes.
Okay. I hope we can figure that out. I'm sure we'll find a way, because that is, that's very important to be able to use those funds. So, and you said by December? Okay. I wish you lots of luck.
Thank you.
In figuring that out. That's tough. And then for the opioid settlement grant, those are finite funds, right? That's like, there's no opportunity for any more funds to be allocated in the future for that, or is there potential?
There is an opportunity. Every now and then, the opioid council will open for new submissions. Because we have not spent ours down, we have not participated in applying for more. I am in the middle of applying for a grant right now through the Department of Justice that would incorporate a lot of the same services that we provide through that opioid grant and combine that plus an extension of crew personnel and training into one larger grant, but we will see how that goes. It's a federal grant, so it can be a little bit trickier to win.
And they're very competitive, but you have
Yes.
to try, you can't get it. Okay, so that's good to know. Just like the cost per person, I'm like, it's so expensive.
It is very
It's so
expensive.
incredibly expensive, and there's so many people that need help, so.
Yeah, and that's without opioid dollars. So that's $37,500 for a dual diagnostic facility, which is a great facility. When people don't fit that criteria, we are able to use whatever insurance they have to get them connected to Colorado Addiction Recovery Services or other 30-day stays, but those just aren't necessarily the dual diagnostics. So that's why we don't have as many folks that we are referring to the dual diagnostic facility, but it's been really nice to have for the situations that have come up.
Okay, so it's more specific or more intense treatment. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you for that. And then for the targeted violence prevention, that includes like domestic violence as well, I assume?
That's a great question. So there's a large crossover between domestic violence and targeted violence. We cannot take on all of it. So we partner with our victim advocates. The analysis program that I was talking about typically highlights a lot of DVs, and then we are able to ensure that it's just a double check to make sure that that report has reached our victim advocates, especially when a person has not named an offender or really opened a case quite yet. So we're just able to use a lot of those programs to double check and coordinate care. But if a person, we use the screener, which is called a targeted violence lethal assessment protocol, and DV cases uses the domestic violence lethal assessment protocol, so they're a little bit different. And ours focuses on the offender and working with that person to move them off their pathway to violence. So there is crossover with domestic violence, and the TVP program would never hinder a criminal investigation of domestic violence. Sometimes it can just combine an intentionality that might not have been known and a current case that's happening.
Well, that's incredible training, just to hear the difference in that. And, and that's why we really need that FJC at some point too, to be able.
Yes, that'll be great.
Right, because you can't handle all these cases. And Adams County has like the highest domestic violence.
We have a very high domestic violence caseload, yeah.
In the state, so there's that. I did have a question on how the partnership, I guess, is going. I don't know if I'd call it a partnership or just being able to use West Pines Behavioral Health since that opened close by. Have you seen a difference in terms of, being able to send more people there?
Yes.
Versus trying to get them further away? And I don't know, they were planning on opening a detox portion, but I don't know if that's
tabled, unfortunately.
It's been tabled?
Yeah, that was tabled, unfortunately. They were going to buy the old Devereaux campus and create a detox facility that would have been able to handle ECs and ICs as well. However, I don't know the reasons why that got tabled, but it's no longer an option. However, our relationship with West Pines is great. They will take our mental health holds if we can do a med clearance on the phone with them. So it's just a bit of a different system. If we're out on scene with a person and they don't have any medical issues, no, they can have alcohol in their system, but they can't need to be attended to medically through that. Pregnancies, anything like that, we have to go to a med clearance first, and then they can make the referral over to West Pines. West Pines, they do have a phone number that we can call directly. However, that phone is also managed by people who are doing intakes. So sometimes it's a consistent callback because as you can imagine, if we're street side with someone, we're trying to figure out where this person's going, especially when our law enforcement has to transport and we don't want to tie them up on the call for a long time. So when you see some of those diverted emergency departments, that's going to be when we're able to go to West Pines. Sometimes Centennial Peaks is even more appropriate. They used to take juveniles, they don't anymore. But they sometimes run a program that we can then get them into even an extended stay over at Centennial Peaks. So just really working with those different relationships with our behavioral health hospitals has helped a lot. And it's not something that we can do every single time because we still have the medical clearances.
You said they don't take juveniles?
Centennial Peaks does not know. They moved their juvenile program down to Highlands and Highlands Ranch.
Where do they have to be sent? I'm sorry, Highlands Ranch?
Mm-hmm. And that's only for kiddos over the age, I think, of 12 or 13.
Wow.
So other juveniles, we have to go up to, if it's a kiddo under that age, we always have to go to Children's Hospital.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess that makes sense, right, if they're under a certain age. I told you I had a lot of questions I was waiting at. Usually they get asked, and I always go last, so one thing that I thought about when you mentioned the person that you helped and her 2 dogs, and, you know, I was fortunate to be on that tour when you got the news that this lady had been housed, which is wonderful news, and her dogs are housed as well. And I thought it was just so great that this navigation center had a place for dogs. So that just made me think of how important like pets are to people, right? And thinking about therapy and service dogs. Do we have in our realm of resources or connections, are there connections to refer people to? I know they're super expensive, right, to get a trained therapy
Right.
dog. Yes.
That's a good question. We have not done that. I know a lot of our clients will have an emotional support letter that some housing will accept and some housing will not accept as being a therapy dog, but we have not gone down the road of doing a full training with a therapy dog. I think it would be out of our budget at this point in time because I think it's thousands upon thousands.
Trust me, I'm not advocating to add anything else to your plate, but maybe like a resource to send someone to, and then, you know, and they handle it on that side. No, I definitely think that you're doing plenty and your team's doing plenty. And, you know, we're so proud of everything that you're doing for the city. Like, we're actually making a difference, right? And we're so happy to support this program. I do not see any other questions, and I think I probably got through the ones that I was thinking about the most. So with that being said, we just want to thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We appreciate you and your team.
Bye.
Great. We have one last discussion item, and that is the banner policy. We have Deputy City Manager Jason Loveland who will present this item. Hi.
Hello, good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. So this is a follow-up to a conversation that we had 3 weeks ago on March 2nd regarding a banner policy. This conversation came up from a request from the Daughters of American Revolution regarding our 250-150 banner conversation. I won't repeat the whole thing. It was only 3 weeks ago, and you were all here. At that meeting, council gave direction to staff to go back and take a look at, maybe the drafting a policy for our banners that we have access to, either through XL streetlights or our own city-owned light poles. So a cross-functional team got together, including folks from Parks and Recreation, Economic Development, the city manager's office, and communications. So we went and looked at kind of best practices and other policies throughout the region, and really identified a couple of key themes, which have been included in the attachment of the proposed banner policy. A couple of items that I just want to point out that are, I think, most relevant as we've had this discussion is, one, the permitted content. It's staff's recommendation, to restrict banners that are promoting city events or have other municipal interests specifically. And then item 3 is the sponsorship recognition to identify that commercial or nonprofit advertising is prohibited, except for when they're partnering with the city to sponsor an event in alignment with our city sponsorship policy. We found that was consistent with, there's a lot of variations of policies if you're out there looking at them, but they seem to all kind of tie back to that city-sponsored, no necessarily like commercial advertising, unless it was a sponsorship activity. So our questions, I guess, for tonight are really to receive feedback from council. We can make some modifications if that is desired. And otherwise, we would bring this back on the April 13th meeting for council consideration.
Great, thank you. So glad we're having this discussion tonight. Already, there's quite a few hands, so we'll start with Councilmember Goff.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. So my question, it has to do with back, I don't know, about several years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, we had banners that said, we're against racism. And we had talked about Black Lives Matter, but that didn't fly. But I'm just, how would that fit in this policy? Is that because it's like a city, like in our strategic planning language that we would, for diversity? I mean, I'm just kind of curious how something, hopefully we would never have to go through a time like that again, but, it could happen. So I'm just wondering, does that, how do you think that would fit either you or, I don't know, maybe Lawyer of the Year there could make a comment?
I do think those types of messages could qualify because I do think it relates back to city services. So I think there is a way to potentially make that sort of public pronouncement within this policy. We could certainly look at amending the policy to include, if it's tied to, for example, the city strategic plan or something like that.
Okay, yeah, I see. I mean, in the first one, it says something about municipal interests, so which could cover a lot of ground. But I just kind of wanted to make sure that we weren't leaving things out that at some point we may want to make a statement, on behalf of our residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see, Councilmember Nowicki.
Thank you, Madam Mayor Pro Tem. Question about the towns that were selected kind of as to draw from. Is that all because they were kind of similar size?
So in the memo, those were the organizations that responded to the city manager's outreach, but there's several other examples that you can find online. Okay. So it wasn't size restricted or anything like that.
Gotcha. That's right. That's in the memo. Yeah, I mean, it's nice that the policy is one page. That's unheard of, so that's great. I like it. Thumbs up.
Thank you. Councilmember Kondo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor Pro Tem. So in regards to the sponsorship recognition, you're saying that it should be in alignment or accordance with the city's sponsorship policy. So I just did an online search for Northglenn sponsorship policy, and all I get is event sponsorship, City of Northglenn. Is that the right document, or is there a different sponsorship policy document this points to?
That should be the document.
Okay, so when I look at that, it doesn't really talk about it. It more or less talks about sponsorship of having cabanas and stuff like that at our major hallmark events, but it doesn't really get into, having a logo put on city advertising material or anything like that. So I'm just wondering, am I looking in the right place, or is there a different document?
I believe that is the document that has the specific guidelines to sponsorships and what's expected. So in this policy, under sponsorship recognition, we identify that the sponsor's name or logo shall not be the dominant element of the banner.
Yep.
So there would be opportunities for
Yep. Okay. Gotcha.
those connections.
I guess I'm just trying to go back to the document you're referencing just to make sure I could see, if there's any additional guardrails. But maybe I'm just looking in the wrong spot. And then I want to channel Councilmember Burns, and I just want to ask the question, having lived in Pennsylvania, there are communities that from time to time will put up banners of veterans who have passed away or of notable reputation around, say, 4th of July or Memorial Day and things of that nature. Will this policy allow for that if the city so decides to want to do similar sort of thing?
Yeah, I think under the same sort of analysis as it relates to Councilmember Goff's question, Certainly, the answer is yes, and I think if we wanted to, still trying to keep it within one page, add some clarification. This is decidedly non-lawyery, to use Councilmember Nowicki's.
Non-lawyerly for the lawyer of the year. Okay, great. Actually, I do like this as a policy document. It's wonderful, one page. It's whoever drafted this really is, how should I say this, very, very judicious with their word use. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think maybe it would have been good to have that document that Councilmember Kondo is referring to attached to take a look at. So I don't know if that will be at the April 13th meeting as well. Maybe as an attachment might be helpful to review that. I do like the policy. I think it just makes more sense to keep it aligned with, what the city wants to do and have control over that, especially since we've had a lot of discussion around banners for different reasons. So I love this too. I think it's plain, it's simple, it keeps it clean, and it keeps it aligned with what, values we have as a city. So I'm on board with it. So if anybody else has any other questions to discuss about it, I think it looks good to me. Councilmember Roper, are you good with that too? Okay. Do you need anything from us except that we all seem to love it? Plain and simple is great.
Love is wonderful. We'll go with that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, we like it. Let's not get too, just
Okay,
kidding.
you like it. We'll take like
you.
as well, so.
Well, great. I thought we'd have more discussion around this, so that's great. Great job. Great job. Excellent. So moving into the last portion of our night, we made it, folks. We have public invited to be heard. This is an opportunity for public comment. Statements are limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Comments must be related to an item previously addressed by council during the meeting. Is there anyone in the audience left that would like to speak to council at this time? No. We appreciate all of you. Thank you. Is there anyone on the phone? We always say that, and usually there's no one, but just in case. Okay. Excellent. So it looks like we don't have any public comment, and there being no further business, we are adjourned. Good night.